Hello, so it is 9:05 p.m. and I'm going to see how many ACEOs, how many tiny paintings that I can paint in around, I'd say 50 minutes, and I'm just going to give myself a time limit. I love giving myself these little challenges to just see how much I can do and how productive I can be, so follow me along. So this is an example sheet of what I would do when I'm batch creating ACEOs. So I'll just take a sheet of A4 or A3 and then I'll divide it up. I usually measure them around, say, 6.5 centimeters by, by 9 centimeters. So that's roughly the size that I like to make them. So they're pretty small. And I'm going to start a new sheet and see if I can finish them off. So I think that I'm gonna go this way this time and try and make this side my shorter side because I think it can fit in more ACEOs that way. So I've already measured 6.5 on that side 3 times, and then I'm gonna go along at the bottom edge, I'd say 9, so 9, 18, and then what's that, 1, 2, 3, oh, that's 27. So that should give me about 9 of them. When I start a collection, I like to just go in with a base color so that all of them are the same color. So I'll probably go in with a watercolor or an acrylic and just do the entire background, just real messy, just so that it's got a cohesive color to all 9 cards. So I'm starting with these fun kinds of shapes, just experimenting. And when I think of ACEOs, I treat them like sketchbook pages. So I'm just having play and fun with it, just doing these organic flower shapes. So this is a very floral botanical collection. So I'm really going into leaves, very simple leaves, branches, flowers, botanicals. Sometimes I do them more detailed, sometimes I make them very simple. This time I'm just thinking of just doing a very nice quick doodle session, and those become the designs. And you never know what people love and what they respond to. And I'm just being really free with it and building up the shapes very slowly. Just going in with the blue color now. And I think I'm gonna just do the base shapes now and then go in with acrylic marker or a crayon to do the details. I haven't decided yet. Now let's take that same blue and then go over here. And I'm just really just building that shape. It is now 9:56 and it is now the end of my session. I have created this much so far. They're still wet. I'm gonna go over them with maybe acrylic marker or with crayons to finish them off. Haven't decided yet, maybe pencil. And then I'll do that tomorrow and I'll come back and show you the result. Good night. So now I'm going to add some details to my little drawings. I'm going in with an acrylic marker and just going to be adding some little patterns and details and just doing whatever my heart desires, really. So I just decided to add these little white dots around. And then I think that I'm going to go with yellow next and just do some waves on the plants and then dots on either side. So I'm just being very decorative about my design and just going with the flow. There's no plan really. And you can make yours as detailed or as free-flowing as you want. Honestly, there's no wrong or right way to make these little tiny paintings. They don't even have to be paintings. They could even be just pencil drawings. They could be anything. A lot of people like to do paintings, but they can be anything really. And I just love using it as an experimentation point and also a relaxation point so that they are also fun, as well as seeing who would like to buy them as well once I release them into the world. When I am creating a collection, I do try to use the same materials for each one. So with this one here, I'm using the yellow again. Not just because of laziness, but also just to create a cohesive collection. So all of them are using similar colors, so the same greens, the same reds. This is the same red, and then I'm using the yellow on top, so it's creating a cohesive collection even though they are all individual pieces. And that's what I really love about this process, is that you can develop your art style, you can relax, you can experiment. And I'd say create these tiny paintings as experimentations, create them to have fun, to relax, and to test what people like, if you want to see if selling your art is worth it. And that's just the way that I'm really just approaching this entire process. I'm just doing this little wavy line here, and you can see that I'm just doing lots of different squiggles and really playing with different shapes. But again, because I'm doing them all together at once, they're just naturally ending up cohesive because of the colors that I'm using. And at the moment, in this point in time, I'm feeling like this wiggly design is something that I want to do and continue throughout the pieces. So it's just so easy for me to create that cohesiveness. So I'm moving on to these designs over here, and now I want to bring back in some red. Now this is not the same red that I painted in, but I still want to bring this in because it's all part of the same collection, and see what I can create with that. Just going around and just adding little shapes all around my flower and just adding those little decorative details. And I'm not being too precious with them right now. Some of them I go very detailed and I take a lot of time. Some of them are just very quick. I'd say generally on a batch like this, a batch of 9, I'd say I'd take anywhere from maybe an hour. I'd say an hour to 3 hours, probably 3 hours max. So if I'm going more detailed, I'd probably spend 3 hours. So I never really do spend lots of time on them because I do like them to be fun, small, and I like them to be experimentational. And I also don't expect them to sell for much. So I do just do them quite quickly, just as almost like I said before, a sketchbook piece. So on this one, I'm just going on with that dot theme. And I'm sticking with my yellows and reds and my blue as well. In my work, I really love to do the contrast of the primary colors. I just think they work really well together. And I think that's one of my favorite palettes, as well as colors that are together on the color wheel. I've forgotten what they're called again. Someone will remind me in the comments, but I do like doing that in my work. I feel like the yellow on the blue is just a really nice contrast. I really like how that's turning out. I'm gonna go in with an orange. Oh, I like this polka dot pattern. This is really fun, and I never even knew that this was what I was going to go for this, but I am happy that I did because I'm just loving how it's coming out. And you just never know what you're going to end up with when you experiment like this. So now I'm already on my top row, which has gone super quickly. So again, I'm just going to go back in with that sort of wavy design. I think this is just what this collection is going to be. Last time I did the collection of frogs, I did so many frogs. I loved frogs as characters, also as realistic versions too. I think they can look really cute. So this is kind of my kind of folk style botanicals. I guess this is what this collection could be called. Folk botanicals. I think that's the best way to describe this collection. And I am so far loving the vibe of this collection. It's very free and it feels really arty. So I like the direction that it's going in. Go back in with the red. And then for this next one, I have this really fun shape. So I think I'm gonna round it at the bottom like this. And for the top, I think that I'm gonna do these little bumps come in. I think that works really nicely. Then I think I'll go in with the orange and do another sort of inner line and do another row so that it looks like there's lots of petals. So I like that look. And then again for the leaves, just so that we're staying in with that kind of theme that we've been going for. Gonna do the wiggles, and I like to keep my backgrounds kind of plain. I don't really do lots to the background, and if I do, it's generally quite simple, so I don't like to spend too much time on the background. I like to spend a lot of time on the motifs. There's many reasons why I like to do that. One, it really just helps to speed up the process, and sometimes I do like to take these motifs and I like to repurpose them into greeting cards. So if you have a look at my website, some of my ACEOs have been repurposed into greeting cards. And I think that's also a good idea to just think about how you can repurpose these. If you find a design that you really love, you can recreate it in a bigger version, or you can even just cut it out and add it to a card or make it into a small print. I find that making it into a card works better because they're so tiny. Even if you scan them in really high resolution, it can be really hard to keep that quality. So you'll end up with a really tiny small print. Whereas with a card, you can have really tiny cards. You can have an A5, A6, even an A7 size card, and it still looks good at that scale. So you could even have a card at the actual size that the ACEO is created at. And in doing so, you're not really losing the quality once you've scanned it in, because there's only so far you can blow it back up. That's why it's always better to work big as possible if you're going to be scanning your traditional art and making it and digitizing it into prints. So this is the collection. I think I've finished playing with them. I'm pretty happy with how they look right now. So it's time to go on to the next step. Now the next step is to obviously start cutting them out. The most accurate way to do this is obviously not with a pair of scissors, it's with if you had a cutting board, but I do not have that, so you're going to watch me try to go as slow as possible. One of the things that I found is always cutting all the way down, just cutting a bit and then stopping before it goes all the way through. When you keep cutting like that, you can create jagged edges. So this helps me to create as straight as possible line, cutting it by hand. It still is not perfect, but I think it's okay if it's not 100% perfect, but it just needs to be straight enough. So this is just the method that I use at the moment, but I hopefully will invest in getting a proper cutter. I think it will be important for when I create other pieces and other pieces of work that I want to cut out. I think it would be important to just be able to have that. So you can see it's relatively straight using that method and trying to take your time and being very careful with how you hold your scissors and the angles that you use. Just making sure to try follow that pencil line as closely as possible. So now that they're all cut out, let's take a look at them. I'm really pretty happy with how they've turned out. There's great colors, lots of great texture and shape. They're experimental and I had a lot of fun creating them. So I think they've hit all those goals, and I think at least there might be a couple in this batch that I could repurpose into products for something else. I just do love the way that they look, so we'll see what I do with them. So usually I'll just try and take some pictures of them. When I take pictures of them, I keep it really simple. Now I like to use my phone and I like to use a backdrop. So this is, I don't know what to call this. You can find this in stores and it's meant to be stuck onto the flooring and it's got this backing. So this is a really nice one to find a fake wood flooring. And what I liked to do is I put this on, I reused some packaging that I got from a parcel and I just tried to smooth that sticky thing onto this, and I was able to create this kind of fake background, because I just haven't got really nice floors, and it looks pretty good for now how it is. So I'll just center it and then I'll get my phone, and then I might just do a little clip like this, so I can't see my phone, so I'll just try and do it like this and I'll try and center it and then I'll just snap it. Let's try and so I just take a few snaps angle my phone where it's in the center, trying not to get any shadows, and then I take some snaps, and then that's how I would do it. Then I have this app called Afterlight. You can just do this in your phone's app if you want to. You don't have to use a specific app, you can edit it. And then I like this because you get a little bit more controls over the curves and then the darkness. And you can edit your reds more or your greens more. Edit the brightness and the darkness of it as well. Contrast and vibrance as well is one that I like to turn up, because you just want it to pop out so that people can really see it, and I like to make sure that it looks very clarified, very clean. Then there's glow, structure, and grain. I don't really use any of these other ones. You can do with hue as well, but I don't really mess around with the hue because I want them to see the correct colors. I might change the exposure if it's overexposed or underexposed, so I'll bring down the exposure just a little bit because the image is just a little bit bright. And then that's all I would do, and then I just press next and then save it. Then I take it into eBay and then I put my title in, and it gives you up to 80 characters, so you can add more or less. I usually start it off with the ACEO, and then if you add spaces, it will give you suggestions of what you can add. And then it gives you a green if it's a really good one, so I'm going to tick that. And then continue without match, because it will try and match it to an item that already exists. And then you add all the details. And then I do like a little description. I get AI to help me with this. And then just make sure to mention that it's an original, it's not a print. The sizing details, the medium, which was gouache, and also acrylic. Oh my gosh, I can't spell gouache. There we go. And then I'll just press done. Then I start the auction at 99 cents. Now this one, I always do a custom one. And I just edit this to be £1 just in case. So I just make sure it's a second class letter and it's custom. And then that's all done. So list with fees, and it should be 0, and you list it for free. And then it's done. You can also boost it if you want to. And it's done. Look, it says nice work. So it's now listed. Now, after I've done all of that and listed them, the last step I take is signing them. So I just write my name, or I just do Chantel Taylor Illustrations, same name as my channel. And then I just do the date underneath, so it will be April. And it's the 28th, 2026. And that's just how I do it. I just do that. That's my signing process, and I date it in pencil just so that it doesn't damage them. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button and stick around for more videos like these.